Good Monday evening, South Carolina weather watchers. Hopefully, everyone has had a fantastic Monday. I am your meteorologist, Peterson, and let's go ahead and talk about the weather for your Monday evening going into your future. We have a good amount of stuff. that we're going to be talking about tonight. We will continue talking about that cold front that will move through at the end of the week. We also are going to talk about that isolated to scattered convection that will continue as we move through this week, through like the next 48 hours or so mainly. Flash flooding, the low to moderate flood risk continues with the minimal flash flood risk. We're also going to talk about the evolving weather pattern that will continue, that comes in, especially as we move through the rest of this week. And then we'll talk about the tropics, obviously. So a good amount of stuff to talk about, so we're not going to waste any time at all except to say this. If you have not hit the like button or the subscribe button yet, make sure you're going to do so. We are at 575 subscribers trying to get to 600. 25 away. 25 away. So make sure you go and hit the subscribe button if you have not already, and sharing is caring. So go on and hit that share button and share it with all the people that you know on social media, on whether it be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, doesn't matter where you share it to. But without further ado, let's go on and get started. Starting off, what is going on currently? What is going on currently throughout the state right now? So currently, as you can see right here on your screen, or actually this is a satellite, this is actually pointed on Aaron. If we go over here and see what's going on throughout the entire U.S., we do have some rainfall activity going on. We have isolated to scattered shower and downpour activity going on from the upstate down into the Midlands of South Carolina. The PD also does have some rainfall moving in over there as well. Low country looks relatively dry. And if we go into our lightning potential, we do have thunderstorms ongoing. Rather be over here near Saluda and Edgefield, where we have a 94% chance of receiving some lightning over here, or rather be over here near Pamplico, where there's only a 4%, or near Dillon, to where there's about a 50% chance of that shower over there being a storm. That's what's going on throughout the state. What's going on throughout the entire U.S. We do have some rainfall going on in North Carolina as well as Florida getting in on some of that rainfall. Louisiana getting some storms. Texas getting some rainfall, and then even some severe weather. Some rainfall also going on in New Mexico, going into Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas, severe weather going on inside of South Dakota and North Dakota, and then some flooding ongoing up here in Illinois, especially near Chicago, and some more storms going on over there, severe storms going on over there as well. So a good amount going on. But let's go on now and talk about our cloud cover, because cloud cover was relatively light today. I didn't really see too much cloud cover. Yes, I did see some clouds in the sky. But for the most part, I didn't really see too much in terms of heavy cloud cover activity. Like the sun was out for pretty much most, if not almost all day. And that cloud cover right now that's going on goes from Florence. Obviously, there's showers that influence that. But cloud cover over there, you have some low clouds going on kind of near Columbia, and then you have some cloud cover from that other shower that's moving on over there near how we just talked about for like Saluda and then Edgefield. For cloud cover for the future, as we go on and push this forward, you can see that cloud cover activity will continue to kind of stay in the same spots, stay in the upstate, stay in the PD, stay in the northern Midlands, for example, and it will try to make its way down into the low country a little bit. This is tomorrow morning when my morning forecast update comes out. You can see that cloud cover is starting to move its way through a little bit. And once you continue into the afternoon hours, that cloud cover really starting to kind of wants to start to get going a lot more than it did, at least, than today. For current temperatures right now, 81 in Columbia as well as 82 in Orangeburg, 80 in Somerville as well as 80 in Georgetown, 81 in Murrells Inlet as well as 82 in Myrtle Beach, 80 in Conway, and 82 in North Myrtle Beach. Moving over here, we have 83 in Aiken as well as 80 in Newbury, 77 in Greenville, 78 in Spartanburg, 79 in Gaffney and York. Rock Hill is also included. Low temperatures for tonight, 72 in Greenville, 71 in Spartanburg, as well as 71 in Rock Hill. We also do have around 72 in Winsboro, 74 in Columbia, and 74 in Moncks Corner, 77 in Charleston, and 72 inside of Walterboro, 74 in Georgetown, and 76 Myrtle Beach, 73 in Aiken. As we go into our rainfall for tonight, a good amount of rainfall is potentially possible. 100th of an inch to a 10th of an inch goes for Newberry, goes for Winsboro, goes for Columbia, also goes for Aiken, Barnwell, and then also Sumter. Camden's also included in there as well. Moncks Corner, 100th of an inch to a 10th of an inch going into Hilton Head Island, going into Georgetown, going into Myrtle Beach. 100th of an inch to a 10th of an inch possible for those regions. Then you also do have a 10th of an inch to a quarter of an inch going in for Greenville, going into Spartanburg. Also, some other regions might, like Walterboro, could be included in there. Quarter of an inch to a half an inch also goes on for Dillon. And then maybe somebody may potentially receive an isolated inch of rainfall as we move through the next 24 hours. It's possible, as somebody could potentially get that. The crazy score for tonight, we are at 18. If you have no idea what the crazy score is, the score to see how crazy the weather is for either tonight or during the day. And this is for tonight, obviously, because it is tonight. So we're at an 18 mild category. The reason why we are there is because, obviously, isolated shower and storm activity continues. The low flood risk still goes through tonight. And then patchy fog. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's potentially, it's possible that we could potentially drop the visibilities, dropping all the way to 1 to 5 miles tonight. And due to light winds and residual moisture, it promotes that patchy fog activity, especially in the CSRA and the Eastern Midlands with visibilities, obviously, like I said, dropping to 1 to 5 miles. Going into the SPC outlook for tonight, we do have a thunderstorm risk. That is for, obviously, like you can see on your screen, the light green that goes for the entire upstate, the Midlands, and the PD/Grand Strand region. It also goes to the Eastern Low Country, and everyone else that's not inside of the light green does not have a thunderstorm risk, even though storms do not follow boundaries at all, and they can easily jump out the area if they wanted to. This is obviously why this is just a forecast. But for tomorrow, things change. Kind of see a bit of a shift. You can see kind of the thunderstorm risk moving from the low country and kind of move its way up into the upstate. Spartanburg's and Rock Hill are two great examples because they do not have a chance for thunderstorms tomorrow, according to this map from the SPC, the Storm Prediction Center. That can change by tomorrow morning. We'll talk about that, obviously, when we get there. And then if you're inside the light green, that's for Greenville, that's for Aiken, that's for Columbia, that's for Florence, that's for the entire low country, that's for all the Grand Strand. That is a chance just for some thunderstorms. Gusty winds possible with all thunderstorms. It's all possible tomorrow. Wednesday, just another bigger dip at that point. That includes most of the Midlands, except for the southern portions, but Columbia is included. Aiken is included. You don't have a risk for any thunderstorms over there. Spartanburg still not included, barely. But this can change as this is still around 3 days out and this is only day 3. Thunderstorm risk for everyone else. Now for excessive rainfall, things change here as well, as instead of having like a marginal risk of severe weather, we have a marginal risk of excessive rainfall. So that's a 5% risk of flash flooding. That's for all of the upstate, that's for the PD region, and that's for the northern Midlands as we move through tonight. For tomorrow, we have a little bit of a smaller risk, but it's still there. Marginal risk that goes over here from Seneca, Walhalla, over here into central South Carolina, going into Travelers Rest, Tigerville, and Landrum, South Carolina. For day 3, this is for Wednesday. Same thing pretty much over here. Includes just pretty much this area of the upstate. It goes from Landrum all the way down towards Long Creek and Seneca. Day 4 comes along. This is Thursday. And Thursday, this western part of South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, Greenwood, Anderson, Augusta, going into the western, I believe western Lexington County, and then also including Rock Hill, York, Gaffney, minor flooding is possible there, and isolated flash flooding is also in the question. And then if you go into day 5, which is Friday, we do have another marginal risk of excessive rainfall or isolated flash flooding, but it includes a lot more of the state. And you see other regions over here like Georgetown, Myrtle Beach, Conway, Loris, North Myrtle Beach, not included, but that can change. This is 5 days out. This is on Friday. We still have a lot more time to go in terms of excessive rainfall for this day. So now that that's out the way, let's go on and talk about the models. So we're going to start off here at 9 o'clock p.m. And you can see as we push this forward, that rainfall activity that we are seeing now is kind of going to move its way down to the south a little bit. It's going to kind of stay up there in the upstate a little bit as well. Even as you move all the way through to 1, 2, 3, 4 a.m., you still have shower activity going on. It's relatively isolated, but it's still there, and it's still going to be not a concern, but just something to look for. You may have some, like a couple of pockets of some moderate rainfall, but for the most part, you're not seeing anything like heavy thunderstorms, having torrential downpours everywhere at, that stuff. Then once we get to around 7, 8, 9, 10 a.m., you're still seeing all of that activity. You are still seeing all of that activity even by 12 to 1 p.m. as well. Rainfall moves its way down to the west, and it's right along that border by that point. Right along that border also going on still near the coastal regions as well. Also has some rainfall activity going on. As you continue to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 p.m., we still are not done. We still have isolated shower and storm activity as we move through. Even going to 9 p.m. when I do my evening forecast tomorrow evening, we still might have some rainfall going on. And just as we continue it forward, you can see that overall, it gets a lot drier. It for sure gets a lot drier. This is August the 20th here at 2 p.m. This is 4-hour Wednesday. And you can see just how drier it is, or just how dry it is throughout the state by that time frame. But we can continue even further, and you can obviously see the big monster that is Hurricane Erin down 2 hours south and east at that point. It's bringing us some rainfall. It definitely will bring us some coastal shower/storm activity. That's if this is exactly where it goes to. According to this model, it just matters how far west it goes. It could potentially bring us, again, some shower and storm activity from its outer bands that barely reach us. But it's not going to be anything like high tropical storm force winds, hurricane force winds, anything like that. Rip currents, though, and high surf, we'll get into that, but that's also a concern as it moves its way through. And once Erin gets out of here, we have another storm system to watch for. Obviously, that's not Erin, but it's just a storm system that comes from the continental U.S. itself as the low pressure starts to move its way down into like Alabama, going into Florida, Georgia, and it brings us a lot of rainfall as we move through the 23rd, and it will bring an active part, especially for the end of this week going into next week. And one thing I also do want to talk about is the cold front that also occurs from it. As you go in and start off this week going into next week, you can see that by August the 21st, there's Erin over there on the eastern side. And it's going to move its way out. And dew points are going to stay relatively in the 60s and 70s. You see all this stuff. But look at the dew points up there. You can see that significant decrease from the 50s up there in the green to the 60s down here in the orange and the yellows, etc. That's going to continue moving its way down. This is August the 25th here. This is for Monday. At this point when we're looking at it, that cold front will come down. It will bring dew points down to the 40s and 50s, especially as we move through the overnight hours. When will this cold front impact us? I know yesterday it was looking kind of like Sunday night going into Monday, but now it looks like Monday night going into Tuesday, and so it's still being refined right now. But we know that a cold front is coming. And will it drop the temperatures? Absolutely, it will drop the temperatures. Will it be by much? Not too much. No, not too much. We're still going to be, in the 80s. But that's a huge upgrade, especially if you like cooler weather, and we're in the 90s, obviously, for high temperatures. So a 10-degree difference, that's something to still look forward to. Even if, it's 90, it still feels like 100. for some places, 105 for the past couple of days. So this definitely could be not the best of cooldowns for sure. Could we have a better one? Absolutely. But this is still a cooldown. A cooldown is a cooldown. And even during the nighttime temperatures, for example, on August the 26th, we could have some high 50s potentially up there right along that border, but that would be like up there in the mountains most likely. But that's pretty much all I have to say for the cold front there, though. Back to the actual rainfall model. You can see things start to actually dry up a little bit. You can see you're not really getting too much precipitation by around August the 25th and the 26th, and then yes, we have this storm right here. This is not Erin, but this is the other storm system that we're watching over there. If you were there last night or even this morning, I did talk about it and just say what the percentages of it were. We're going to look at the ensembles with it though. But that is pretty much just going to move its way through, and that's still 10 days out, so we don't even know if it's really even going to be there or not. If we look at the past model run from 6 hours ago, it showed it over here near Florida and Georgia. If we go another 6 hours in the past, it didn't even have it there. So that's just how uncertain the models are still for it. That's going to move its way out, and look at how just nice it looks. Is rainfall still possible? Absolutely, but it's a lot less than what we would potentially be receiving, especially for now. It is 300 hours out, so we still have to take it with a grain of salt, but it is looking like that we could have a little bit of a dry period as we start off September, which is a good thing to look forward to. That's it for at least the rainfall models. I do want to talk about one quick thing real quick, and that is with our look at our actual upper atmosphere, where you can see right here the high pressure over here inside of the west, and then that will cause us to get some drier weather, just more drier than usual. And then also with Erin as well kind of coming in, them two together kind of will cause us to have some drier weather at times. But if you go on and continue to push it forward, though, that high pressure will actually start to break down. Not breaking down yet. It's not breaking down yet. The main days will probably be tomorrow and Wednesday, to where it will really start to reduce our precipitation, especially on Wednesday, where we just talked about how it's going to be a lot drier going into that start of Wednesday. And this is the main reason for it. But you can see as we get more and more into the weekend, that high pressure over there breaks down, and that ridge that we had around us kind of just crumbles, and it still stays in the west, but it does not quite stay over to where we are. And especially as we get into early next week, you can see that cold front that moves down, that brings down obviously our pressures as well as we go on and continue through. But that's just what it's looking like there, and you can even see it over here for the actual rainfall itself. This high pressure over there, rainfall over to where we are, relatively, not bad. But then once Erin and that high pressure breaks down, you have that storm system that I was just talking about. As that cold front moves through, it brings a lot of that rainfall activity after that high pressure breaks down, and then Erin moves out of the way. But that's just one thing I just wanted to touch up on real quick, just to explain why that was happening. Let's go on and talk about the tropics. Obviously, Erin being the main concern, 130 mile per hour winds, bands of heavy rainfall are expected over portions of Hispaniola this evening and through Tuesday for the Turks and Caicos Islands, the southeast Bahamas, and the easternmost central Bahamas, all of that on Tuesday. Flash and urban flooding are possible for Erin. It also says tropical storm conditions are expected in the Turks and Caicos Islands and in the southeast Bahamas through this evening. Tropical storm conditions are possible in portions of the central Bahamas tonight through Tuesday. Here's a look at Erin right here if you want to go on and look at it. Let's see if I can go on and adjust this. There we go. Erin is expected to produce life-threatening surf and rip currents along the beaches of the Bahamas, much of the east coast of the United States, Bermuda, and Atlantic Canada during the next several days. Beachgoers in those areas should follow advice from lifeguards and local authorities and beach warning flags. Newly added, it says, oh, you actually can't even see my screen. I was showing this the entire time, and I don't even think you can see it. There it is right there. Um, but it also says for North Carolina as well, tropical storm conditions and coastal flooding. Tropical storm conditions and coastal flooding are possible in the North Carolina Outer Banks beginning late Wednesday, where tropical storm and storm surge watches are in effect. Interest in Bermuda should also monitor the progress of Erin, as strong winds are possible beginning on Thursday. So, I was talking about the North Carolina Outer Banks region. We had a question yesterday, I believe it was from Ms. Tolliver, who did ask, would this cause any conditions for the East Coast, or will it just hit the East Coast in general? And I said, for now, it's looking possible, especially with the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Now it's looking more likely, especially not only with the wind and just the rainfall, but also storm surge as well. And South Carolina also has a chance for some storm surge, relatively low, but it's there. We're going to talk about that right now. As you just go on and look at the cone, though, the cone for right now, you can see that we have the tropical storm watches up here inside of the, like, right along the Outer Banks region of North Carolina, and that's where they could potentially receive those outer bands that bring tropical storm force winds. Now, in terms of the wind just in general, and how much rain and how much wind they will be potentially receiving, I mean, for right now it says 20 to 30 mile per hour sustained winds with gusts of up to 45 miles per hour, but that was just for the bottom region near like Beaufort, North Carolina. If you go for the one up here, 25 to 35 mile per hour with wind gusts of up to 50 miles per hour for more of the outer regions, though. But that's what it looks like, and it's expected to downgrade back into a hurricane on Thursday. You can, we could look at the models, but pretty much, there's nothing else really for us to talk about. For intensity, though, it's going to take that downward trend. Now let's go on and talk about the rip currents and the high surf and the peak surge that we could potentially be receiving, though. We're going to talk about rip currents first for us. And as we move through today, we obviously had that moderate risk of some rip currents moving through for the entire coastal region. But tomorrow, the entire state coastline has a high risk for rip currents as we move into tomorrow and also Wednesday as well. So tomorrow and Wednesday, definitely our highest risk for rip currents as we move through the next couple of days. And like it said, pay attention to the lifeguard, pay attention to the flags that you have, to the flags that they put out on the beaches as well. If you are going to the beach this midweek, as hot rip currents will be a concern. And not only that, but surge as well. You can see right here, peak storm surge, 1 to 3 feet of storm surge is possible from the South Carolina, North Carolina border all the way down to the South Santee River. So again, that's not much, definitely not much, but 1 to 3 feet, that will cause coastal flooding for some areas as that water moves its way in. But for now, it just says 1 to 3 feet. Now that is out of the way, we talked about the rip current, we talked about the storm surge, we talked about just the cone and where it's still headed to go. You can actually see, though, if you look right here over near the South Carolina, North Carolina border, right along the coastal region, you can see that there actually is a little 5% chance. Now, again, that's right along that border, and 5% is a 5%, but there obviously is no tropical storm watches that are in effect. So, we're still going to say that this most likely will not cause any tropical storm force winds, but, just something to see if it continues shifting west, see what they got over there for the coastal PD region over there, coastal Grand Strand region over there. And then we also have this other area of interest that we were watching for over here inside of the orange. This is disturbance 1. It says a tropical wave located over the central tropical Atlantic is producing some disorganized shower and thunderstorm activity. Environmental conditions appear conducive for gradual development of the system, and a tropical depression could form towards the end of this week. The system should move west to west-northwest at around 20 miles per hour across the central tropical Atlantic and approach the vicinity of the Leeward Islands on Friday. So this is the second one that we're watching for. We're not concerned over. We're not concerned over it, but it's something that we're just being aware and just watching for, just to see what happens. This does have a 10% chance of forming over the next 48 hours and a 60% chance of forming over the next 7 days. I expect that to most likely increase. And once we get to that 70% chance, it will turn red, and we will really be talking about, okay, this really will be something that we really do have to watch for, especially if it does form. And then you have the one behind it as well. This one is not really expected to form. It says that there is, it says a tropical wave located just off the coast of Africa is producing a persistent cluster of disorganized shower and thunderstorm activity. Some slight development of the system is possible over the next day or two as it moves west at around 15 miles per hour. On Thursday, the system should reach a less favorable environment, which should reduce its chances for development. So that's pretty much all it is right there. It will most likely, this most likely will reduce its chances for development by once we get to around Thursday. But let's go on now and talk about the actual ensembles and what they say for each of them. So if you go on to, I'm going to go to Get the Loop real quick and stop this. As you go on and push this forward, you can see the low pressure is kind of going on down there, but you want to look at the one, not where Aaron is, but the one to the south and east, to the one to the south and east of Aaron. That one moves its way through, and you have the low pressures going pretty much all over the place. You have some going inside of the Gulf, you have some going near Cuba and Puerto Rico and Jamaica and the Bahamas, and then you have some taking pretty much almost the exact same track that Aaron took, and you obviously have some that's going to make its way towards Florida and South Carolina and Georgia and North Carolina, for example. But that is why this is just an ensemble. This is not, something that we really can sit here and be like, okay, well, this is the area that's going, because obviously we just don't know. But if you look to the one down there to the bottom right, even, to the right side, that's the low that we were just looking at, and it pretty much just dissipates by Thursday. Remember, it's supposed to be unfavorable for development. But that's all that I have to say for the tropics, and just all that I have to, be done talking with for tonight. Let's go on now and talk with the audience. If you want to be a part of the audience, you can by joining us at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see what the audience has to say for tonight. Starting off with Mr. Chris, who does say, good evening, everyone. Hope everyone had a great day. I did. Thank you so much for asking. Mr. Anthony also says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. Mr. Kristen says, was a little hot here in Monk's Corner, but not too bad. That is, again, great to hear. Not glad that it wasn't too bad. Also, make sure you go in and vote inside the poll as well. Make sure you go in and vote inside of the poll as well, so I can get your opinion on that. Gibrat H says, good evening, y'all. Good evening to you. Mr. Chris then also says, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe button to the channel. It helps the channel grow, and it also gets vital information out. Which, let me go and do my check real quick. We've had 29 people tune in, and we only have 10 likes. I have no idea what's going on there. I know. I don't understand it either. But, obviously, I can't force anybody to hit the like button. 29 people have came in, and we only have 10 likes. So if you have not hit the like button yet, you're part of that 19 people that have not hit the like button yet. Make sure you go on and do so. Then my Aunt Lula then says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. Great weather today. That is, again, fantastic to hear. Mr. Kristen also says, share that live feed to my X channel. Thank you so much for that. Let me go and give you a round of applause. Thank you so much for that. Again, I ask that sharing is caring. You can go on and share the live stream to anybody you know, or it could be on social media, on X, on Instagram, on Facebook. It can even be on your local neighbor's app for Ring. It doesn't matter. Just anything would work. Trail then says, greetings everyone, greetings to you. Thad says, good evening, Joseph. Yet another hot one here. Thank you for that weather update and good evening to you. My name says, hello, Jay, hello to you. And then Trail also says, ridiculously hot. I want to be in the 30s. I have to disagree with you there because that's too cold for me. That is way too cold for me. I cannot deal with the 30s like that, which I've always said. I'd rather have it be 100 degrees than 32 degrees. I'm sorry, but that's just what it has to be. 30, I'd rather take 100 over 32. 32 is just way too cold for me. I can't do that. Mr. Kristen says a 10-degree drop will be a blessing, and it sure will. it sure will. Because 10 degrees is at least some relief. But that's all that we have for the chat for tonight. So let's go on now and talk about the 4 locations outside of South Carolina, that being San Antonio, Raleigh, Philadelphia, and Duncan, Oklahoma. The reason why we talk about those locations, and it usually takes us around 3 minutes to get through them all, so not that long. The reason why we talk about them is because we have people from those areas that are tuning in almost nightly. Starting off with San Antonio first, we have low temperatures tonight 79, high temperatures tomorrow at 100, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 78. No precipitation is expected tonight or, just tonight. But then we also do have a chance of thunderstorms for tomorrow during the day, and then a slight chance of thunderstorms tomorrow night. Now for your severe weather, because I know you probably are wondering what's going on for severe weather. You do not have any threat for any sort of severe weather over the next 8 days for now. And if we go into your excessive rainfall, you do actually have a shot for some excessive rainfall. Not for tonight or tomorrow, but Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. You have a chance for some minor flooding again for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So you do have to watch for that as you move into the rest of the week. Raleigh being the next location with low temperatures tonight at 70, high temperatures tomorrow at 85, and low temperatures tomorrow night at 71. Slight chance of thunderstorms tonight. No precipitation is expected at all tomorrow, though. If we go into excessive rainfall first, we're going to do excessive rainfall first. You do not have any threat for any sort of excessive rainfall over the next 5 days. And for severe weather, no severe weather either. For Philadelphia, you have low temperatures tonight 65, high temperatures tomorrow at 76, and low temperatures tomorrow night at 65. There is no precipitation tonight or tomorrow, but a slight chance of showers tomorrow night. And there is no severe weather that is expected. And then for excessive rainfall, you have no excessive rainfall. And then Duncan, Oklahoma being the last one with low temperatures tonight at 75, high temperatures tomorrow at 98, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 74. You do not have a chance for any sort of precipitation for tonight or tomorrow, but you do have a slight chance of thunderstorms tomorrow night. And no severe weather is expected. No severe weather is expected for now. And then for excessive rainfall, you actually do have a chance for some excessive rainfall on Wednesday. Wednesday, some minor flooding is possible. And that's it for the 4 locations. Again, relatively quick, doesn't take too long at all. Let me go and talk about what's going on throughout the entire U.S. weather news-wise. Tropical storm conditions and coastal flooding is possible in the North Carolina Outer Banks beginning late Wednesday. Tropical storm and storm surge watches are in effect. Major Hurricane Aaron is expected to bring life-threatening surf and rip currents along the East Coast beaches this week. Hot to extremely hot temperatures are forecast through Tuesday in the mid-Mississippi Valley. And if I believe I go in and look at this, yes, we have high surf advisories and rip current statement that is out for the entire coastline. For the entire coastline of South Carolina, we have high surf advisory that are out and rip current statements that are out, obviously, due to that high surf and those rip currents. And that's pretty much just the main thing that's really like the main highlight for South Carolina, at least for now. I mean, except for the flooding. Let me go in and check out my email real quick, see if we had any other pictures or videos or anything like that move through. And from what I'm seeing right now, I don't believe that we have any, unless no, yes we do. Yes we do, I do take that back. We do have one. That came from Thad. He sent a picture of his thermometer, and he asked me why was his thermometer super high. And I don't know if you mean that inside of a joking time frame or if you're actually curious about that, but if you are actually serious, it probably is, I would assume, because of just the feel like temperatures kind of weigh into it a little bit more. And so, for example, I know with my actual weather station, It says it's like my older weather station. It says it's like 102 degrees outside, while my newer one says, oh, it's only like 90, and that's just because the heat index values play a huge role. I remember like when we had that dangerous heat wave move in, it said it felt like 120 degrees outside, which no, it didn't feel that hot. But it just sometimes that heat index values can kind of just increase it a little bit more, and especially since it's also dry. I can see it's around 26, so I think the more humid it would be, definitely the higher it would be for now. So the fact that it is still that high and it's actually low humidity would mean it probably would be even higher if the humidity was up higher. But thank you so much for that picture. If you want to go on and send in a picture, you can by sending them to scweather360@gmail.com. Again, that is scweather360@gmail.com. And that's all I have to say for the poll for tonight. I said, was today one of the best weather days in a while? 64% says yes. 18% says close, maybe a top 2 or 3. And 18% also says no, that this was not the best weather day, and it's not even close. So thank you so much for voting in that. In my opinion, I don't really pay attention and see, oh, was this the best weather day or was this? But definitely, if it's not the best, it definitely is top 2 or 3. Top fans for tonight, Mr. Chris with that number 1, Terrell is at number 2, and then Mr. Anthony is at number 3. Congratulations to the 3 of y'all for being the top fans for tonight. If you want to be a top fan of the night, you can. You just got to be active inside the chat and be early. I will be back. I'll be back tomorrow morning with your Tuesday morning forecast update. Everyone have a fantastic rest of your Monday evening.